back to Linda's Pantry, and today we are canning green beans again. Okay, so I'm looking through the ball book to find my green bean and mushroom recipe, just to refresh my memory. And what do I come across? The page before, and this is the all-new ball book of canning and preserving. On the page before that recipe is a lemon garlic green bean, and I'm like, oh, I love lemon pepper green beans, so I'm going to make that. So I swapped out my beef broth that I was going to use in the recipe for chicken broth. It calls for chicken or for vegetable broth. So if you haven't got this book, go down in the About section, check the link, see if it's something you might want, because this is my favorite canning book right now. I love it. These recipes were put together by a chef and then tested to make sure that the heat gets to the center of the jars and everything is copacetic with canning. So on the lemon garlic beans, they have you raw pack this. The instructions step by step for everything is right here, which I overlooked on my first attempt at the mushrooms and green beans. But I do not like to raw pack green beans or vegetables per se. I like to hot pack, because what happens when you raw pack is you get floaters. You don't get as many in the jar. It's not as pretty, and for all the work that's involved, I want it to be beautiful on the shelf and get maximum out of my space in the jar. So I'm gonna still, it doesn't call for mushrooms, but because I already had these, I got almost 2 pounds for $1.99 on the markdown rack, and literally no ribs are showing on any of these. They're perfect. They've got a couple little bruises, so they don't look as pretty on the shelf. They're going to be beautiful in my jars. I've already snapped all my green beans. They're all in here. It took about 3 days, or 3 or 4 days of picking, and they store pretty well in your refrigerator. So if you pick and you don't have enough for a canning session, go ahead and wait a couple of days, pick again. I'll be using the All-American 10.5 quart canner, and it's been a little workhorse for me. I love it, absolutely love it, because I can do small batch canning, and that's what I do quite often during the summer, because our garden doesn't produce a bushel of beans, and quite frankly, I don't really want to do a bushel of beans at one time. So getting back to the recipe, we are going to, what you're going to need is, you need your beans, you need a teaspoon of salt per quart, a teaspoon of or a half a teaspoon of pepper per quart, 4 garlic cloves split. Okay, so that's 2 garlic cloves per quart. My garlic cloves are a little small, they're out of my garden, so I'm going to put more than that. We love garlic in our lemon pepper green beans. You're going to need half a tablespoon of lemon zest, also on the markdown rack, a big bag of them. I think the bag weighed 4 pounds for 99 cents. And again, there's nothing wrong with these lemons. And then you're going to need 2 tablespoons per quart of lemon juice. And I'm going to use bottled lemon juice, because this lemon juice here is going to go in some lemonade. So bottled lemon juice. And then you know your acidity is correct, even though we're pressure canning, so it really doesn't matter. But I'm adding the mushrooms because I had it. I've got my chicken bone broth back on the stove, and we're using that out of our pantry as well. So if you guys are canning green beans these days, let me know how you're doing yours. And I will tell you, the green bean and mushroom recipe in this book is Thanksgiving quality. It's so delicious. So if you like these kind of videos, I hope you go right down below right now, and hit subscribe and the like button, and leave me a comment of what you'd like to see next. So if you want to see more canning videos, let me know. I keep looking at polls. In fact, I'll put a link in the iCard above. I'll put a link to the canning the green beans and mushrooms, but I'll also put a poll card, and you can answer the question however you want. So what would you like to see in the near future? More canning, camping, cooking from scratch, or cooking from the home canned pantry? So that that being said, let's get on with this recipe. Now, as soon as I'm done cutting up all the mushrooms and the green beans, I'm gonna cover these with water, bring it to a boil. I'm gonna let it simmer for 5 minutes. And then I won't have floating green beans or mushrooms in my jars, and they're gonna come out beautiful. Now, it calls to can the lemon green beans for 25 minutes for quarts, but because of the mushrooms, I'm going to use the other timing, which was 30 minutes for quarts, and adjust for your altitude, which I will have to do. And we're good to go. And there we go. I know I found all kinds of delicious honey ginger carrots. I think I'm going to have to do those. And there's just tons of recipes in here. And the nice thing is this canning book will also give you recipes to use some of your canned product in, so you don't have to think it up all the time. Okay guys, let's get cracking, because we've got 4 or 5 more mushrooms to go, and then we're gonna go ahead and can this up. I'm so excited. Okay guys, we're ready to start jarring this up, and this is absolutely beautiful already. So I go ahead with your green beans, get a good foundation of green beans. It kind of says to layer it, so I'm going to try to do that. And we may only get 3 quarts, but it looks like I'm good. So I need a half a teaspoon of black pepper, and I'm going to make that heaping because we love pepper, and I kind of do lemon pepper green beans, so I always use a lot of pepper. Level teaspoon, I'm not going to overdo the salt, of salt. We've got our garlic. Now I'm using 4 small cloves of garlic per quart. And then I've got my lemon zest over here, and I'm just kind of dividing it up. I've already got 1 jar in the canner, so we're going to divide this up. Good half a tablespoon. Put your lemon zest in, and then your lemon juice. Don't forget your lemon juice. And you could use the fresh lemon juice, because now we're not really worried about the acidity as much as, because we're pressure canning. Everything's low acid anyway. But the flavor is so intense. It's so good. I'm super excited about this. Okay, so get the rest of these green beans. Yeah, my round 3 on green beans might only be 3 quarts. Or maybe it'll be 3 quarts and a pint. You know, I'm ready for that if that's the way it goes. I use my debubbler tool to go ahead and get everything packed down really nice. And it can hold a few more. I want my jars nice and full because they take up space on the shelf. So utilize the space in the jar. Whoop, got a little water in there. And now it's time for our chicken broth or bone broth. And this is home canned chicken bone broth. I'll try to link how I made that. I did a video on it. Bone broth is so good for you. So bring it up to 1 inch of headspace, maybe a little bit higher, just because I'm going to debubble again, or debubble, and your headspace might change. It's very important that you follow the instructions on the headspace. As a new canner, I was like, no, I want that jar full. And you need that headspace for the air to, the food's going to expand and push all the air out. And so that lid goes up and down during the canning process. And then the vacuum is created at the end and sucks it down. So you need to do what it tells you to do. And I've got a perfect headspace, but if you're not sure, use your tool has measurements, 1 3/4, half, and I put it on the 1 and it's touching the product in the jar. Now, it actually could use, there we go. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. Wipe the rim of your jar, and I've got vinegar water in my bowl for my lids and that I've washed. And if these were not brand new jars, I would totally use Tadler lids. So fingertip tight, and in the canner it goes to rest with the other jar. And then I'm gonna do the other 2 jars. Oh my gosh. You guys, do you wanna see it up close? I'll bring it in close. Let me show you. Okay, so we're gonna load this jar and show you up close, or as up close as I can get you. I don't want you too up close, but oh, beautiful. And by blanching, or par cooking your green beans and mushrooms, you're gonna get a better product, I feel. I just feel like, we get a much better product. Okay, now it's time to put our seasoning in. I've got heaping half teaspoon of black pepper. I've got a level teaspoon of my salt. And I use kosher salt. You can use canning salt. It just has to be a salt that is not got any iodized. You can't use iodized table salt. 4 cloves of my homegrown garlic going in. And then get the rest of this out. And I do need a spider or a slotted spoon for this. I usually drain these off into a colander to do this part, but so 3 quarts is what we're gonna get today. I didn't have quite enough beans, but it doesn't matter. 3 quarts of delicious green beans. Oh, don't forget your lemon juice. Oh my gosh, I almost did. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. And the lemon garlic beans are gonna be fantastic. Oh my goodness. Okay. And this is a great way to get mushrooms on your shelf. Mushrooms are expensive, and it's hard to do your own canning of mushrooms when things are so expensive in the store. And I've really packed this jar down a little bit more than the other jars just because I've got just enough. I might have a serving left for dinner in the pot. Go a little above your head space because it will shrink down when you debubble. Debubble. Okay. And again, if you want to measure with your tool, it's this last little rung here, and you put it in there. If it touches your product, you're perfect, and that is absolutely perfect. A little vinegar water wipe around the jar. And when I open even new jars, I go ahead and inspect my jar rim to make sure it's even and it's nick free. And there you go, fingertip tight, and in the canner it goes. And I'm gonna can these for my altitude. Oh my gosh, they're beautiful. 40 minutes, because I'm adding time for the altitude, but aren't they beautiful? Look at, I love seeing the mushrooms in there. It's just gorgeous. And the garlic, and that's state fair stuff right there. I'm just saying. All right, in the canner it goes. I'll bring you back when I'm taking them out. So guys, our canner came down off of pressure, and I've taken all the thumb screws, loosened them all up, and as always, this little canner gets stuck. And I've used around the contact rim Vaseline, petroleum, or some olive oil, some canola oil. It does not matter what I use. This particular little canner in 1 in 100, as I'm informed, gets stuck. It's pretty easy to get this undone. So I don't want to go where there's a little lock that comes up under, but you just take the claw of your hammer here and pop. And pretty easy to pop that up. And this side is a little bit, there we go. And then now it turns very easily. So I guess I can call All-American and see, but I'm still really happy with the canner itself. And this has had a chance to sit here without the weight on for about 10 minutes. 5 minutes is preferable, but 10 minutes is okay too. So we're gonna go ahead and take these out of the canner, and the reason you let it sit is try to let some of that heat come down a little bit slower so you don't have as much siphoning out of your jars, because if it's a rapid cool down, you're going to get a lot of siphoning and you don't want that. As well as if you heat up your canner too fast and then cool it down to regulate, you just have to be really, really careful. For siphoning, anyway, I'm going to grab this so you can see how beautiful these came out. And I'm so happy with 3 quarts of delicious lemony green beans and mushrooms. All right, guys. So there we go. We're gonna let these sit, and what I'll do is they'll stay on my counter till tomorrow morning, and then I'll take the rings off, wash my jars, and label them accordingly and put them into my canning arsenal. Another jar, absolutely beautiful. Okay guys, so if you like canning, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And oh my gosh, this one's beautiful. It's got garlic, the lemon. Who doesn't want a jar of that? It's stunning. All right, so if you like canning, give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and share this on your Facebook page. Go down in the About section. I'll leave a link to this little canner. Now, minimum requirements for canning anything. You're gonna need a canner that'll hold 4 jars standing upright, but the minimum that you should be canning at one time is 4 pints or 2 quarts. You don't wanna just put 1 quart in here and try to can. It's not gonna work out well. So you got to follow all the manufacturer's instructions. Go ahead and get yourself a ball canning book, or go online there's so many resources of safe canning websites, and get your information there. All right, guys, I can't wait to see you next time for another delicious recipe.